Hello, folks. I'm Nicholas Johnston. I'm the publisher of Axios. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the last day of an awesome week of programming here in the south of France for Axios. There are some faces I recognize in the crowd, so thank you to the Axios super fans who have been following us up and down the coast. We're also very grateful to all the partners who helped make everything happen this week. We couldn't do anything at Axios. The investments we make in journalism around the world, hosting these kinds of conversations here in Cannes, impossible without the support of our partners. So a huge thanks to our venue host today, OpenAP, and our sponsor, Human Ventures, for making this all possible. And I'm very excited to welcome to the Axios stage Human Ventures partner, VuePlanner, and their CEO and co-founder, John Cobb. John, how are you?
Thank you, Nick. Thank you,
So
Nick. Is it working? Can you guys hear me?
We actually shared the shuttle up here, and we could have just recorded that conversation and played it, and it would have been pretty good.
Absolutely.
But I guess we should do it again
Sure.
live. One of the interesting things that we touched on the way up here was the rise of streaming and the importance of YouTube. So why don't we start with that here? Give us your big picture view, perspectives on YouTube right now.
Well, first of all, thanks, Nick, for having me. Same with Human Ventures, Axios, and OpenAP. What a great venue. First of all, we made it to Thursday, so we all made it to this far so far in at Cannes. I think we all know what YouTube is, right? So if you look at YouTube, it's the largest streaming platform. It's the second largest search engine behind Google itself. It's where we go to watch podcasts, listen to music, learn about a new skill, dive into gaming, all these different things. Watch our favorite creator, which we now have trust with, and we tune in on a weekly basis. So I think everybody here understands what YouTube is. I think when you define it, that's where it becomes a little bit harder, right? So if you look at it, it's TV, it's radio, it's social, it's retail media, it's creator commerce, it's a number of different things. And so the way I like to look at it is really the cultural engine of this generation and slowly becoming all generations, if you look at it as a platform. The challenge for marketers is generally you plan by media channel, right? You plan your TV budget, your audio budget, your commerce budget, and then you generally measure by the funnel, right? Awareness all the way down to those aspects of things. So I think the biggest challenge that marketers really need to ask themselves is, like, how do I show up across these experiences that people are doing in YouTube, across the screens, the formats, in our case, really the content that matters. And that's what VuePlanner does. We're a contextual targeting media intelligence platform that helps brands and agencies plan, buy, and execute on YouTube to drive outcomes.
With that framing, right, like the prevalence of YouTube, the size of YouTube, the rise of streaming, the opportunity it presents, and you've outlined sort of the challenges here, and I would just leave the stage and, okay, well, good luck, folks. Give us a little bit of sense of, like, okay, well, then how do we approach that? Like, how do we solve?
Yeah, the way that we've worked with marketers and basically gave them input is we've created a playbook, and that playbook is, for a successful strategy on YouTube, we really think you really need to do three things, and that's context, creative, and purpose. And so, we can break down each one of those.
Let's go down the list.
Okay. So when you look at YouTube, it's really a content-first platform, right? We all know all the stats. There's 500 hours uploaded. There's a ton of content. It's all different kinds of formats. But it's really the context that we lean into that really draws the attention, right? So it's not the content, it's how that content is then utilized from a contextual perspective that helps marketers put their messaging around where that attention actually lives, right? And so an example for us in the way we do that is we're working, for example, with a brand that's trying to extend its NFL fandom, if you will. So they're buying on network television, they're a sponsor of the NFL. So to port that over contextually over into YouTube, that's where we've come up with Monday Morning Quarterback, right? And what that is really the players, the podcasts, the clip highlights, and that. And the way we look at YouTube is it's really CTV, but we call it contextual TV. So you can essentially build your own fast channel, if you will. The content's there, the audience is there, it's how you contextualize
It's almost like an extension of what they're doing on television. So like
Absolutely.
the television remains and broadcast, like for the NFL, a huge anchor, but like,
Right.
okay, how do I go one step beyond?
Yeah, we all know that live sports is probably the most demand that marketers are looking for. There's scarcity there, there's high price. How do you then complement that reach extension as you go into YouTube? And that's where we come in to help build those kind of product sets and inventory sets for
Do you have any
marketers.
other examples? Like sports is a great one, but any other pieces of explaining how to achieve those YouTube goals that the three targets you laid out?
Yeah, I guess let's say you're Betty Crocker, right? You can aggregate hundreds of thousands of cake recipes if you want on YouTube, right? Those people are building them. They have trust from their audiences, and then you can go ahead and monetize them. Thanks for putting me on the spot on that one. I love these kind of new things, things that brands are probably not thinking of. Sure.
How much of this is like an educational job for them, or once you tell them, look at all these cake recipes, this is a no-brainer for you folks?
I think it's an educational process. I think that what you really need to do, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, is that it kind of looks at how do you turn YouTube into not just a media buy, but a marketing channel, right? And so how do you look at all those different components and turn it into that? The second one that I mentioned is creative. And creative, what you really need to look at is probably the most important thing in terms of campaign success. But you really have to look at creative of the mindset of the person on the other side of that creative. So it's not about the message, it's about the mindset. And so on YouTube, then you have to look at the formats, whether it's a 6-second bumper, an in-feed ad, or a creator activation, right? And so we know that, so making sure that your story resonates across those things are extremely important.
So what are the best takeaways for folks here? I guess the way of framing it is what do peaks do who get it right? And what is the thing most people get wrong?
Yeah, I think that most people treat YouTube as just a media channel in general and don't differentiate.
That's what they get wrong. Is they're not
That's
thinking about
wrong.
it intuitively.
Right, exactly. And that's why I said when you look at all the different channels, and then it goes into the mindset, and then lastly, you really need to go into the measurement. What outcomes are you really looking for? And that's the purpose. And for us, purpose is what are you measuring? What attention are you going after, and what are the outcomes that are really going to drive your business?
Before we run out of time, I want to ask one question. I am bound under French law to ask about AI every time I'm on stage at Cannes. So, and we talked about that a little bit before.
Right.
Give me your sense of how AI, how you use it, how it's impacting all this.
So going back to creative, the way we're using AI is we kind of flip the script. So we work with a partner that it's a neural engine that's just trained on YouTube that scores the creative. And what it scores the creative on is basically brand attention, cognitive ease, and ad breakthrough. Because at the end of the day, with AI, there's going to be more and more content created, but at the end of the day, a person has to take action on that. And so historically, the way that was done, right, you'd either get focus groups or you did A/B testing. We can do this ahead of time before you actually make an investment and then weight that. We're doing that with a lot of creators right now, where not all creators create creative equally, and so we score those things to make it easy for the people that are receiving the ads from an AI perspective to do it before you actually start your investment.
Bringing a lot of more efficiency, I guess, into the process.
Absolutely.
All right, we're about to get the hook here. I want to end on one fun thing we would like to do at Axios. This is one Cannes thing. As you mentioned, we've almost made it. It's Thursday. What was your life hack for surviving the week?
My life hack for surviving the week? Well, first of all, I think it's the experiences, right? First, and for me, one of them was Questlove at the 3C event. 2 was getting to meet Scott Galloway, and he just did an amazing story last week on YouTube. And then finally, from a life hack, I think it's hydrate.
That's a good answer. That comes up a lot.
Do all the things that we all know. But, thanks, Nick, for having us. And I guess the last thing is meeting Nick here was probably the highlight of my celebrity moment.
Oh, this is a way to end the week. John, thank you so much for being here. Thanks to VuePlanner. Thanks to OpenAP. Thanks to Human Ventures. The conversation continues now with Sarah Fisher back on stage.
Great. Thank you, guys.